Hi guys, this is Allie from Stuck on You Crochet, and I am here today to teach the granny stitch. If you are joining for the Stitchwork Scarf stitch along, then this is block 10. If you can believe it, we've made it all the way to the end, which is so exciting. But if you are just here to figure out what the granny stitch is and how you can work that stitch, then this tutorial will work for you as well. I just am going to be teaching it or showing it in combination with the other blocks that we have worked in our Stitchwork Scarf. So when we finished block 9, we finished with a row of single crochet, and now here at the end of this row, you can see I've got my hook ready. If you have a stitch marker in there, you can take it out and get your hook ready, and we are going to join with our next color yarn. If you are following along with the pattern, then our next color would be color C. I have kind of just gone totally off course with the end of these blocks, and I'm just picking things that are contrasting. So we're going to join that yarn and then chain 3 and turn things over. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet into that same stitch space as the chain 3. So you can see our chain is coming out right here on the end. We're going to work our first double crochet stitch into that same space. Then skip 1 stitch, so skip this next stitch, and now we're going to work 3 double crochet stitches into the same space. So we're not working 3 double crochet stitches together. They are 3 separate double crochet stitches. It's just that they are placed into the same stitch space. So if you see here, it's 3 double crochet stitches. They just are all into this same space. Then you're going to skip 2 stitches. So skip the next 2 stitches and repeat that same thing. So you can see there's our next set of 3 double crochet stitches. So we've got 3 double crochet stitches into 1 space, then skip 2 stitches. You're going to continue with that same pattern across the row. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to have 2 spaces left to work into. We're going to skip 1 stitch and then work 2 double crochet stitches into this last space. Now on our final double crochet stitch, if you would like to stripe your granny stitch, then you're going to want to switch to your next color at the end of this row on this final stitch. So you'll work the beginning of the double crochet stitch, but then grab whichever color you want to switch to, and you can finish that stitch with your new color. And then you're ready for the next row. So chain 3 and then turn things over. And now I'm going to snip this blue color just so that it's out of the way. This is another one that if you decide to stripe, you are going to end up with some ends to weave in. So it looks cool, but it does cause more ends. So it's up to you. Okay, so now we have our chain 3 here, and on row 2, we're going to work into the space between the double crochet clusters of row 1. So rather than working into the top of a stitch, we're just going to work in between these spaces. So I'll still work those 3 double crochet clusters, but I'm going to go into the space between. And then you'll skip this next cluster and work into the space. And so you'll continue going across by working into those spaces, and the double crochet clusters will start to stack in an alternating fashion. So work row 2 all the way across, just like this, working those double crochet clusters into the space. When you get to the end of the row, you're not going to have a whole lot of space here, but you'll see we do have this turning chain and our one double crochet from the row before. So you're going to work a double crochet into the top of that turning chain. So work one final double crochet stitch, and then here when you work that final double crochet stitch, if you are planning to stripe, then you're going to want to switch to your next color. So you can get your next color ready and finish that double crochet stitch with the new color, and then chain 3. There's a lot of ends going all over here, so I'm sorry that they're all in the way. Like I've said in prior videos, I am just notorious for leaving my ends until the very end. So I probably should have woven some of these in, but I always leave it till the end of the project, which is a fault of mine. All right, so if we turn this over, it looks a little cleaner, and you can see that we've got 2 rows of granny stitch here, and they have stacked on top of each other. So now for row 3, we're going to start with just 1 double crochet into this space between our final double crochet and the granny cluster. So start with just 1 double crochet, and then we're going to work into those spaces between again. So 3 double crochet stitches into the space between. And then again, you'll work all the way across the row just like this. When you get to the end of the row here, we're going to work 1 double crochet into the space between this cluster and this turning chain. So work 1 double crochet into that space, and then we'll work our final double crochet into the top of the turning chain. And here again, if you want to switch colors, then you want to get your next color ready and finish that double crochet stitch with your next color of yarn. So we'll finish this here, chain 3. I've got a very messy little ball of yarn here. Chain 3, and then you are ready for the next row. So now the rows are just repeats of each other. So you'll repeat row 2 and then repeat row 3, and you'll switch your colors at the end of each row for as many colors as you would like to switch. So I used 6 different colors in my block 10, and I repeated them twice, and then I repeated the first color at the very end. but there will be a total of 13 rows of color in this block. So you can, you can choose to change them every row if you want to, or every 2 rows. It's really whatever your preference is. But then when you get to the final row, so when you get to row 14, you're just going to work a row of slip stitch, and that will give kind of a finished edge to your scarf. So this is the one that I made for my daughter. Move this out of the way. And when I got to the end of the granny stitch, it just seemed like it needed a little finishing touch on the edge. So you can see here's where I repeated 6 colors, and I did that twice, and then my first color I worked that again in the final row, and then I did this row of slip stitch, and I just think it gives a good edge to the end of the scarf. So you can do that if you want to, or it actually would be really cute if you had like fringe coming off the end. I think that would be a good way to finish the scarf. Whatever you think is best. But once you get to that point, then you are totally finished with your Stitchwork scarf. So then you can enjoy all of your blocks and your new stitches that you've learned. If your scarf seems like some of the blocks are different sizes, I have talked about that in some of the videos, that some of the blocks like to cinch, then I do have some blocking instructions in the pattern, and I will also post those on the main blog page. So I'll give some recommendations on what worked for me to try and get mine all to the same size. But then after that, then you're all finished. So I hope that this was fun for you and you learned at least a few new techniques, and I really appreciate everybody joining along in the fun. And like I've always said, if you have any questions, then please feel free to reach out.